Welcome, Geet, again. I think it's such an honor and a privilege to have you here share the space with us. And like Mansi said, we're gonna deep dive into a conversation and understand the importance of curiosity in learning and leadership through your journey, right? So yes, are we ready to begin?
Yes.
Amazing. So, like Mansi introduced, right, from being a 13-year-old junior state champion to becoming a 9-time world champion, what has been the role of curiosity in this journey of learning and growing in your life?
So yeah, I think I like the fact that you start from age 13. Whilst I started billiards at the age of 13, but when I look back, the curiosity angle as a student, whether starting from a conscious recollection of maybe when I was 5 years old, the conscious recollection of curiosity is that my entire curiosity as a function of learning for me was in school. It was only on the sports field. When I was in class, there were only two subjects that I was curious about, and that was physics and geometry. Any other subject and I was completely duh. But when I was on the sports field, whether it was cricket, basketball, on the table tennis table, playing paleta, there was a Spanish game that we had in our school. I was alive, and I think curiosity at that stage, at an early learning stage, is more instinctive. It comes from your intelligences that you have. It comes from your, whatever flair or talents that you have. It kind of gets honed into that direction, but it's very, very instinctive. Uh, but the role of curiosity in learning is immense, and I do believe that the manner in which I progressed from instinctive curiosity to very conscious curiosity. I believe that's how I kept improving as I went along. So yeah, so I think that's the once I started the sport of billiards, it was about, so learning a subject is more about outside curiosity. It is about understanding a subject. It's outside of you. So whether it's how the ball behaves, or how the shuttlecock behaves, or how the subject of geometry, it's all outside of you, and you're constantly asking questions, and you're constantly trying to figure out. And instinctive curiosity, I believe, implies also that the curiosity propels you to be repetitive. You constantly keep doing a thing again and again and again and again to try and figure out what really makes things work. And of course, in a classroom, you have a facilitator, but on the sports field, typically, and in those stages, and even now when you go and play, there is no instructor. So in a sports field, it is all about repetition, and every repetition, however monotonous, however boring, is filled with curiosity, because there are subtle changes and you're learning all the time. So I think I'd like to just open with this comment that there is instinctive curiosity at an early stage, and then it becomes a more conscious curiosity, which perhaps I'll come to a little later.
Beautiful. I think it's so true that children in general are naturally very curious about themselves, about their surroundings, the people around them. And I think it's very beautifully how you put, the journey from very instinctive curiosity to something that you've built consciously over a period of time. And it's something that we would love to talk a little bit more about, like what is it that you did, the steps that you took, some practices that you followed that really helped it build from instinctive to something that you're consciously doing.
So, I think, Kritika, the real conscious part of curiosity came in once I faced my first challenge. So till then it was instinctive. And I remember I became a 2-time world champion purely on the basis of instinctive curiosity, and purely on the basis of just, just doing a thing, repeating it day in and day out, and kind of, being curious, in every repetition, having some curiosity. But but after having won 2 world championships, I faced a challenge, and the challenge was more in terms of my game dropped. Whilst I was playing really, really well, uh, the quality of my game dropped, and I could not perform at the same level that I was performing, in which I had won 2 world championships. And I think that's the time when I realized that I was never looking for feedback because things were going well. I never required feedback. And if I now look at it, what is feedback? Feedback is nothing but curiosity about your own weakness. And you want other people to analyze you and your game and try and tell you that maybe your technique is not right. Whilst I was playing with a poor technique, and I won 2 world championships with poor technique, but the fact was it was poor technique. And because it worked, I never took feedback. So I think that's the time, I think 1989, that suddenly curiosity became a very, very conscious part of my whole being. I actively started going out and talking to coaches. I started talking to other players who were, better than me, who had achieved more. Sometimes coaches who couldn't play the game, but they had a very, very strong intuition about technique. And what the feedback that I got was, your technique sucks. Your technique is really poor, and you need to build a better and more pure technique. And after 14 years of playing with a poor technique, I actually de-learned. I had to forget all that I had learned for 14 years and started slowly building up a new technique. And by 1992, it took a 3-year period, and by 1992, I then finally formalized a new technique with which I played for the rest of my life from 1992 until today. That's almost 30 years. And I won 6 more world titles with that new technique. So I think that is the build up, and that really I feel is the conscious part of curiosity. And I do believe feedback is a very, very important part of curiosity. Feedback about yourself, which is basically curiosity about your own weakness and how you're going to overcome those weaknesses.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Keith. I think completely resonate with the idea of actively seeking feedback to continuously grow and learn. And definitely it's something that doesn't come very easy. In the first place, it's something you nurture.
It doesn't, because there's ego involved. There is, there are other internal, churns of your whole being that come into play. So it's something which but that's the thing, that the need to understand the subject is so great. The need to understand your what you are wanting to learn is so great, and that's why it can only happen to something that you really love and you really like. You can't do it towards something where you are just got no interest towards, and that need propels you then to constantly go on and on and on. So yeah, that's very, very important.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Let's talk a little bit about the book, right? The book that you wrote, Success versus Joy. It talks a lot about mind, body, alignment for achieving eternal joy, and like narrates a lot of paradigms between success and joy. But there is a part of the book that also talks about, the idea of learning new things every day, every single day. And like, how do you think this idea can really help individuals reach their fullest potential?
So there are 2 aspects to learning every day. One is, you learn every day in the subject that you have chosen. And, I keep saying you choose a subject and you want to excel in the subject. And that subject, every subject is so deep. So you have to go very, very deep and learn, every day you learn something new in that subject. And as you begin learning, let's say you will never learn the whole thing. There's too much knowledge out there for any single individual to kind of say, I know it all. And that's the beauty about learning every day, that in that subject, you can just go on and on and on and on. And small, subtle nuances of your subject matter, you'll keep learning. That is one part. The other part is that when you kind of have achieved a fair bit of knowledge as compared to the world around you and other people around you in that same subject matter, that you come to sometimes a kind of a saturation point. And till then, you don't want to consciously learn about new things. But once you kind of, after spending 40 years like I spent 40 years in trying to understand, the behavior of three balls on a billiard table. That's how I define my profession, what I do. You suddenly say, is there more to life than just the billiard table and three balls? And then, then you say, okay, there are other subject matters. So then automatically the curiosity and learning every day in your field gets transposed to learning something new in a new field, in a new subject. And it's the same curiosity which is going to aid you or help you to, to find meaning and to find understanding of another subject. So I think there are two parts to it. One, learning every day in your own chosen field, and one, learning something new every day in a field which is not yours. They're kind of, but the common thread remains the same, that you have to have the urge and the need and the desire to want to understand and want to know. I think the main word here is you have to have the desire to understand your, what you are viewing, or what you you're looking at.
I agree. I agree. I think when you do that, the how you see people, how you see the world, how you see things around you also shifts a little bit, right? As you're consciously learning about new things. But like you said about, when you are thinking about your subject, you sometimes reach a saturation point, right? What do you do then? Like once you are at a certain level, is there still an urge or curiosity to grow, or you think like that saturation or that place that you've reached is
So that's
something
a
you can
very
control?
interesting question that you ask, Kritika. And in my case, honestly, after 40 years, and 40 years is a long time, after 40 years, I think I've had my fill. And so therefore I say, okay, whilst there is more to learn, and really even today when I go to the table, I find something new. If I start playing, there's something new to learn. And there's something of awe, and there's something of, of magic that I find. But I think the saturation limit is there, and my mind has reached a stage where I want to kind of learn other things which are perhaps more intellectually stimulating. Are trying to understand how the world moves. Trying to understand how economics moves. Trying to understand how to play bridge, for instance. So yeah, so yeah, so so I think in your own field, if you come to a saturation point, if you come to it in 5 years, I think that is unjustified, or it's not real. In 5 years, you can't get saturated. In a career graph of any human being, I think if after 10 years or 15 years or 20 years you get saturated, it means that you've really gone deep into it. But if, I would not. I would urge people, if they get saturated in 5 years, to say no. I'm going to go on. I'm going to go on, and I'm going to learn more about my subject matter before I get saturated. I don't believe a person can get saturated in 5 years in any subject, because each subject is so deep.
Thank you for sharing that so, honestly, with us where you are right now with the game and how you feel about it. Since we're talking about, learning new things and how you've been exploring the world beyond, your game. Um, you, along with Prakash Padukone, have co-founded the Olympic Gold Quest, which provides support to Indian players and athletes in the hope that they will get India an Olympic medal. So, can you tell us about what sparked, the idea for social change? Like bringing it's very beautiful idea of bringing your passion together for the betterment of the society.
So the idea actually came, Kritika, way back in '98 and 2000. So I was part of the Indian contingent that went for the Asian Games in Bangkok in '98, and for the first time, I saw, I saw how how Indian athletes were performing at a global stage, at an Olympic platform, at an Asian Games platform, and also I saw that they were all ill prepared. Though I'm talking about 22 years ago, 22 years ago, things, professionalism in sport was still not really there. And in 2000 at the Sydney Olympics, I was part of a dinner which was hosted for the Indian Olympic contingent. And again, I saw that we were just not prepared. There just were not enough support systems for the athlete. Now, in these 2 years, I criticized the establishment a lot. I criticized everybody. And after 2 years of criticizing, I realized nothing happened. So I realized also at that time that nothing happens with just writing and criticizing. So I said, can I do something to make a small difference, however small a difference would be, even if it is towards one player? And that's how Prakash Padukone and I got together, and we started Olympic Gold Quest with the clear mission to support those Indian athletes who have the potential to win Olympic medals for India. So we started with one athlete, and that was in 2007. So between 2001 and 2007, 6 years, I could not raise any money, and I kept banging doors. I kept meeting people. Nothing happened. In 2007, I got my first break, and then we got Gagan Narang. We supported him. That was 2007. Today we are in 2020. We are supporting 200 athletes, and the organization has grown. It's led by Virendra Skina, an ex-hockey player. I have a very enlarged and very wise board. I think the organization has built its own momentum and is now continuing to do good work along with the other agencies involved in Indian sport, including the federation, including government, including sports ministry. So that was the story of Olympic Gold Quest and why one really started it.
I really hope that more players get access to such platforms, to be able to really like push themselves and continue to learn from people like you and the beautiful board that you just spoke about. Um, how do you think curiosity can be learned if we talk about the school system or if we talk about education, right? How do you think curiosity can be learned within or beyond our schools today? And maybe perhaps you could touch a little bit the role that you played as a parent. Right?
I don't believe curiosity can be learned. I believe curiosity exists in each and every individual. It exists in each and every child, and it exists in each and every educator. There's no question about learning curiosity. You learn about a subject through curiosity. So I think the question is, how can curiosity be triggered? So sometimes it may lie dormant. And I think the job of an educator is to trigger that curiosity. You just trigger that curiosity, and learning will happen automatically. There is, I mean, I'm so it's so easy and clear for me to understand. So you have to unlock that curiosity. In many cases where there is interest towards a particular subject, the curiosity is anyway there. And my sense is that I think we need to focus as educators, we need to focus our energies towards unlocking that curiosity in that field and in that subject only. If there is curiosity in painting and in the arts, why do you want to take a student onto biology and chemistry, and kind of get him completely bored, or get her completely bored? So I think this is what it's all about. Try and find out, from educator's perspective, try and find out where the interest of a learner is, and then and curiosity will be unleashed. I feel. I mean, I generally really believe in that very strongly.
Thank you. Could you possibly tell us maybe one thing, that you as a parent did to trigger or nurture that curiosity with Rag and Jazz, considering that they embody curiosity so beautifully?
So yeah, I think as a parent, my wife is an educator and she understands this much better. But as parents, we we kind of expose them to everything. So my son Rag was exposed to the billiard table before he got exposed to a guitar, and he played billiards, and he kind of and he played the guitar, and he found that automatically he was he wanted to play the guitar more, and that was it. It was so natural, and so you just allow them. I think exposure is very, very important. And my daughter was a dancer, and she wanted to keep dancing. She dances till today, but her calling came. She started her own foundation about diabetes. It's called Diabetes. So I think we have to provide exposure, and we have to provide an openness with no preconceived notion. Many times parents want their own, kind of unfulfilled dreams, wanting, to come on to their children. Oh, you should be a great tennis player, and you should be a great billiard player, and you should be a, great scientist. So I think we need to not have any of those burdens on our children. Just expose them and let them just flow, and find out where their talents lie, and then keep supporting them in that particular talent.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Geet. I am definitely taking back a lot of nuggets of wisdom from this short conversation, from actively seeking feedback to, just really consciously making that shift from instinctive to conscious curiosity. So thank you so much for being with us today. And yeah, with that, I would love to hand it back to Nancy.
Thank you. Thanks, and bye. Bye.